This presentation of mine is titled Experiment, Fail, Learn and Repeat. And the first disclaimer is everyone's adventure is original. So the reason why you raise capital is not because you want to raise capital or you want to bootstrap. It's really because what business are you doing? I mean, it's a function of that. Does your business require capital for growth? Does your business require some financing to get things in place initially? All that will really, decide whether you have to raise capital or not, or to bootstrap. That is one reason. And the second thing, it's a lot to do with your appetite. I mean, what do I want to be? 5 years from today, three years from today. I'm not going to talk about the fact that, bootstrapping is cool and, there is some narrative that, a lot of people say that I bootstrap, so I'm great and all of that. Nothing like that. And the second thing is, I'm fairly early. I think I'm about 3 years into this journey. So I really don't know. I mean, nothing ever happens as you imagine it will. So I don't know if I'll raise capital next year. So that's another disclaimer. Even before I started doing this, I decided, most of us, when we start, we look at a hobby, we look at things that we like. And then we, build a business on that, on top of that. So for me, you don't raise capital to, learn guitar, or you don't do that, right? So for me, video is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be on YouTube. And it so happened that I realized that content around startups then was not made very interestingly well. So I thought, why don't I make this look cool? And why don't I go on YouTube? So, I wanted to be on YouTube. So I started doing this as an experiment from home, like use the hall of my house, had another person to shoot and direct. And we would put out a show on Friday every week. It so happened that the show was liked by people. We had a lot of comments flowing in on Facebook and Twitter, and we would go out and meet a bunch of investors and startups, shoot content with them, come back and do a variety show around startups in general. It was loved by the startup ecosystem. We made a film about starting up. We did all that, but then this was an experiment. So for the first 6 months we decided, let's not even register a company. And this is for a lot of people who think, when they quit their jobs, registering is hard, finding an office is hard, all these things are very, or there are people who actually tell me, Manu, do you have any contacts with investors? And I ask them why, I'm starting something. So, I mean, my advice is that's not important at all. At least for the first 6 months, what we decided was we'll work from home, we'll not register a company, we'll not do anything. We used a camera of a friend, did not invest any money into producing video, did that on our own and put it out there. So this was the experimentation phase. And about 6 months into the journey, we kind of figured that, oh, this is working. We had about 10,000 people viewing our content on YouTube every episode. So we decided, okay, why don't we catch up with some investors and, we'll figure out if there is a model around this. We went and met investors and they were like, you know what, your content is viewed by around 10,000 people on YouTube. That's really not a large market idea. So you're a good team, you have good creative capability, you're doing videos really well, but you know what, we don't think there is a revenue model here for an investor to come in, because you're hitting about 10,000 views on YouTube. That does not mean, we put in $1 million and then, you give us 5x or 10x of return in some years. So it does not work. And in fact, there were also people who told me that, 3 years back, there was this whole euphoria of content startups. You could do video content, all kinds of video content. So there are investors who told me, hey, why don't you become a horizontal platform? Go ahead and shoot, content around fashion, recipes, anything that's really large market, and then we can fund you, because you create a lot of content and you get, you can possibly get some advertisers and all of that. But today when I look back and I decided that, I didn't know fashion, I didn't know recipes, I didn't know all of that. So I decided not to take any money. I decided to continue to do this. So in this journey of 6 to 10 months of creating content for our own sake and for YouTube and for an audience, we were approached by startups who said, hey, why don't you create content for us, because you seem to be good at this. And so we decided, hey, we will pivot to more of an agency model where we will help startups, we will help, and then we didn't call it startups then, because early stage startup, how much of money will they have, what can they pay you for their content? So we called it like the new economy business. So we will create high quality content for new economy businesses. And then because we had an understanding of what they were doing, so we did not chase any traditional business. We would chase a bunch of startups and new economy companies. And today we work with unicorns, we work with all kinds of companies and create content for them. But we have a focus on this aspect that the business model has to be unique, it has to be something new, and that is where we come in. So, intelligence and creativity go hand in hand in our case. I think since the topic is about bootstrapping versus, raising capital and why did I take this route, I think what's really the trade-off? So absolutely not against raising capital. I think you should do it if your business demands that. When you look at freedom, I think if you want 100% freedom, the best thing is not to raise money from anyone, because there will be absolutely no one who will ask you for any report. You can be your own boss in literal terms. You can do whatever you want, and that's something that a lot of people enjoy. It's fine to have no investors, nobody bothering you. You run at your own pace, so that it gives you a lot of freedom. But at the same time, raising capital also means that you have access to amazing people who will come on board, who will help you raise the next round of capital. You'll become richer. All of that is possibly advantageous when you look at it that way. The next point is making every rupee count. This is what I've seen in startups. I mean, with startups that raise capital, that the whole idea of frugality is kind of lost. You kind of start spending money, lavish parties. When you raise capital, there are founders who are like, I love to hire. That person is like overstaffing his company because he likes to hire. There are people who like to speak, so they go to every single event out there. So in fact, it kind of loses a lot of focus when you raise capital. But when you're not raising capital, every rupee counts. So of course, the fact that you don't have to be afraid of growing quick, slowly. If you raise capital, there is no other way. You have to grow fast. I mean, because there are people who have invested in you and they want you to grow really, really quick. Here, I mean, you can grow at your own pace. So if you're fond of doing things slowly, you can keep doing that. And of course, you have to keep growing. It's not that you can't stand still. And the fourth thing is, I mean, when I say you're only as good as your team, it is also important that, your team is not just people who work for you. You should also have a base of mentors, advisors, friends, other peers who will really help you in this journey. Because one thing that honestly you miss out when you don't have great people on your board, great investors, is the fact that, you might not possibly have people giving you good, solid advice. So ensure that, if you're bootstrapping, you should have really good advisor. I'm thankful that I have a few people who I can go to for any form of help. So this is also an important point. And then have fun, enjoy life, and stay positive. So no matter whether you're bootstrapping, whether you're raising capital, the whole idea of entrepreneurship in general is to have fun, create an impact, solve a problem the best way you can, and have fun doing it. So there's no better time than today to start up. So if there are people who are even thinking, contemplating, go ahead, do it. There's funds available. There are also models around how to bootstrap your way to success. So go ahead and do that.